The Snow Queen and Other Tales, a selection of traditional Russian fairy tales, stories by Hans Christian Andersen, the Brothers Grimm, and Henry Troyat. First produced in 1962. Indestructible. That's the word for cats, said Grandfather Peter. He pointed the stem of his pipe at Vladimir, who had tumbled from a tree and landed safe on all fours. Even if a cat tumbles off a rooftop, he not only lands on his feet, he learns something from the journey. Somehow, the worse things look for a cat, the better they turn out to be. Here is a story about a cat with that problem, and how he solved that problem. Once, and not long ago either, a farmer had a cat, a fighting cat, tough and clever, with one chewed-off ear. The cat was much more cunning than his master, the farmer. Naturally, the farmer soon decided he'd prefer to have a silly, soft kitten instead. He put the clever cat into a sack and sewed it tight. Then he went a day's walk into the forest and threw the sack, cat and all, into the trees. "Goodbye forever, clever cat," he cried. "You'll play no more tricks on me." He marched home and got a silly, soft kitten to sit by his fire, and perhaps they sit there still. Our story is about the cunning, tough cat, sewed up tight, flying through the air. The sack landed on some of the bushes. The cat in it landed on its feet, not hurt a bit. "It must be moving day," said the reasonable cat. "I have flown to a new neighborhood." He clawed at the sack until he could slip out one paw. With a stamp and a rip, he was free. He shook himself and stretched himself to get the ripples out of his fur and the wrinkles out of his ideas. "The world's a grand place for a good thinker," he announced. "I'm going to get ready to think." He licked his fur until it was shiny, cocked his one good ear, and thought, "Using my brains to live like a lord, that is my specialty. Therefore, my next move is to pick a good spot and lord it there just as I lorded it over the farmer." Off he strode, proud as a parade of princes. He found an abandoned hut. "Here are my temporary headquarters," he said. A pile of hay lay in a dry corner. "And here's a bed," he added. He curled round himself and fell asleep. When he awoke, he was hungry, so he scoured the forest and found some small game to eat. Then he returned to a pleasant night at his headquarters. Many a one would be content with so free a life, yet cats, especially clever cats, are hard to please. He considered the matter. He thought, "This house isn't bad, but I have to hunt for my food. When I was with the farmer, he fed me. Hunting is just not my hobby. A born lord like me shouldn't work for food. There must be someone nearby who needs to be ruled over." The clever cat went exploring and met a lady fox, a pretty, gay young vixen. She had never seen a house cat before. "Goodness," she thought, "a one-eared stranger. How exciting! I wonder who he can be." Curiousing, she purred. "Sire, what happy chance brings you here? By what name may I address your excellency?" She was a most polite young vixen. She did not meet handsome strangers every day. The cat stood at attention. His tail tossed like a royal pennant in the breeze. Solemnly, he answered, "I have just arrived from the farthest Siberia. I am the new lord of the forest. Cat Ivan is my name." "I am privileged, Cat Ivan," said the pretty vixen. "Perhaps your excellency will honor me by visiting my humble home." "Perhaps," said the cat. "And what is your name?" "Lizabeth, your excellency." "I shall graciously come with you, Lizabeth," said the cat. The fox's den was nearly built and very clean. The cat sat serene in the coziest corner, while Elizabeth bustled and hustled to prepare a fine meal. As she cooked, she looked thoughtful. Finally she murmured, "May I ask, Cat Ivan, are you married? Are you a bachelor?" "Bachelor," said the cat. "I am not married either," said the vixen. Then she looked him straight in the eye. "Cat Ivan, if it's a wife you want, you'll find none in the forest better than I." "This is useful information, Lizabeth. We must marry at once," replied the cat. The vixen smiled and nodded. She set out her best food for a real wedding supper. Thus Lizabeth married the excellent one-eared cat Ivan, who had come from the farthest Siberia to be the new lord of the forest. Next morning, Lizabeth went hunting for food for her prominent new husband. Cat Ivan stayed at home, sprucing up his distinguished whiskers. He was a lazy cat as well as a clever one. While the vixen was out hunting, she met her friend, a dashing young wolf. "Dear darling Lizabeth, where have you been since yesterday?" asked the wolf. "Never you mind," the vixen snapped. "And you must not talk to me either in that way. I am a newly married bride." "Well, who is the lucky fellow?" asked the wolf. Preening herself, Lizabeth answered, "Perhaps you know the one-eared cat Ivan has just been sent from the farthest Siberia to be the new lord of the forest. You have the honor of looking at his wife." "Oh, excuse me, Lizabeth. I didn't know. Please, when may I pay my respects to his excellency?" said the wolf. "Not now," said the vixen. "Cat Ivan would be furious if you disturbed him before he had dined. But suppose you were to catch a sheep and make him a present of it, then he would see that you know how to treat the great lord. Mind, when you bring the sheep, hide so that he can't see you. If he did, he might lose his temper, and I can't say what would happen." "Thank you, Lizabeth. Greatness hasn't made you forget old friends." The wolf hurried off to hunt for sheep. The vixen strolled along peacefully, knowing the wolf would hunt her in her stead. Presently another friend, a young bear, appeared. "Good morning, Lizabeth." "You adorable creature," growled the bear. "You large heap of fur, speak with respect, please. I am a newly married bride," the vixen snapped. "A bride," said the bear. "Tell me, who is your husband?" "The excellent one-eared cat Ivan, come from the farthest Siberia to be lord of the forest, is my husband," answered Lizabeth. "May I hope for permission to see his excellency?" the bear murmured. "Not now," said the vixen. "Cat Ivan won't let anyone near him before he dines, but if you hurry, you might kill a calf and give it to him to welcome him. The wolf is bringing a sheep. Mind, when you leave the calf, do hide, so that Cat Ivan won't see you. If he did, with his temper, who knows what might happen?" The bear hurried off to steal a calf. Elizabeth walked tranquilly home. She slipped into the den. The lord of the forest still slept in his cozy corner. The wolf had caught a sheep and had brought it to the clearing near Elizabeth's door. He was trying to make it look as delicious as possible, for he was afraid of Cat Ivan. Then he saw the bear, who arrived dragging a calf behind him. "Hello, bear," said the wolf, glad of company. "Hello, wolf," said the bear. He added nervously, "Have you seen Elizabeth's new husband, Cat Ivan, lord of the forest?" "I am waiting for them now," said the wolf. "Why don't you try the door?" the bear said. "No, thanks," said the wolf. "You're brave, and besides, you're bigger than I. Why don't you try?" "Why risk death for nothing? There's a rabbit. Let's send him," the bear said. "Rabbit, come here." Shaking, the rabbit came. "Tell us, Long Ears, do you know where Elizabeth lives?" "Yes, sir," the rabbit said quickly. "Go and tell her that Bear and his friend Wolf wish to present their excellencies with calf and a sheep," growled the bear. "And bow when you say excellencies," snarled the wolf. "Yes, sir," cried the rabbit, hurrying off, glad to be alive. Elizabeth said to hide. "There's a tree for me," said the bear. "What about me? I can't climb. Give me a hand, friend, or I might get killed." "Stretch out under the shrubs," said the bear. "I'll cover you with a pile of leaves." "Bless your kind heart," mumbled the wolf. Flattening himself out, the bear heaped leaves over him until only his nose showed. Then he lumbered up the tree to wait for Elizabeth and Cat Ivan. Soon he could see them coming. The rabbit had obeyed well. The bear called down, "Here they come, Elizabeth and her lord. Great hives and honeybees. How little he is!" "Hush!" whispered the wolf. "If he hears us, we're done for." Cat Ivan came to a standstill before his dinner. He humped his back and made his hair bristle. He jumped onto the calf and ripped it into his teeth and claws. As he ate, he purred loudly of satisfaction. The bear, who was listening, heard a cat purr for the first time in his life. "Just listen to that! He's no giant, but what an appetite! A whole calf would do me for days, but not him. He's packing it away. And all the time he's complaining, it's poor provisions, poor provisions." He's the fastest hunter I'd ever met. Wolf, too, wanted to catch a glimpse of Cat Ivan. He shook his head gently to free his eyes of leaves. With his one ear, Cat Ivan heard the rustle of leaves. He stopped ripping the meat. "I know that sound well," he thought. "It's mice. They are great fun to hunt. Just as gentleman's hobby, of course." When the leaves rustled again, Cat Ivan leaped for them. He landed, claws out, right on the wolf's tender nose. The wolf howled in pain and dashed off in a dusty flurry of leaves. That was a frightened wolf, all right. But when Cat Ivan heard the wolf howl almost into his ears, he was 20 times more frightened. As the wolf sprang into view, Cat Ivan sprang too, high as he could, into the nearest tree, and it happened to be the pine tree where the bear was hidden. "Help! He spotted me!" thought the bear in a panic. The bear shut his eyes and jumped. Branches broke and fell. His bones all but broke as he hit the ground. Elizabeth was very bit as clever as her husband, and perhaps a smidgen more clever. "Run, bear!" she cried. "His Excellency is after you. Hurry, he'll close." Ever since that day, Cat Ivan and Elizabeth lived in luxury. Fresh meat is delivered daily to their door, and they never have to hunt except as a hobby. Now you know the story of the clever one-eared cat who was sewn into a sack and thrown into the forest. I wonder what our cat Vladimir would do if he were lost in the forest, said Vienna thoughtfully.